All right, let's look at this a bit more in detail with Jakub Bielamowicz, who is a Southeast Europe and Western Balkan analyst, and he joins us now from Poland. Welcome to the programme. So there's been criticism by the EU and Washington to the latest developments in Kosovo. Is this justified?
So I think the posture being taken towards Kosovo is completely disproportionate. Let me put it into context for you. So last month we had an early municipal election in the four Serb majority municipalities in northern Kosovo, and this election was green-lighted by the NATO countries, by the so-called Queen, including the US and the EU. This election was boycotted by Kosovo Serb parties, so that's why. The outcome was, I think, pretty clear. So there was a low turnout, and it resulted in a low legitimacy for the mayors who were elected. They are Kosovo Albanians, but still, these are the mayors that we have, and that's why this is the environment that this region needs to function in. And these mayors took oath of office. They want to access the municipality buildings where they want to do their work. There are no other mayors at the time. Most likely, there will be another election needed in some time in the future to increase the legitimacy of the municipality authorities in this region. But for now, these are the mayors. They were elected. The election has been green-lighted, approved by the Western countries, as I said. So that's why I think that's the way forward. And the reactions that we saw from the US, so just canceling the military drill and de facto freezing the diplomatic relations with Kosovo, it's very disappointing for the people in Kosovo.
So this is all happening in a very small area in the heart of Europe. Tell us how worrying this is, because it's bringing in reaction at the highest level from the EU, from the US, and what is the risk here of spillover regionally?
So there is a risk, and it needs to be taken very seriously. And maybe this is not an immediate risk, but the tensions that we've observe in the region. They pick up very intensely last year in mid 2022, and since then they take place every few months or even week. So that's why it clearly shows that the Western policy towards Serbia that escalates these tensions, that destabilizes the region, including Kosovo, this policy has clearly failed, and that's why what we call on. We as analysts, as commentators, we call on a deep policy review in the Department of State in Washington and also in Brussels, because otherwise this stabiliocratic approach, so just stabilizing the situation as is, will only lead to further escalations. And what we saw on Monday, it's very disturbing. 30 officers of NATO-led KFOR troops have been wounded. So this is something we haven't seen for at least a decade.
How does this end? How does this quieten down, Jakub?
So it has clearly impacted the EU-US-led dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia, the so-called normalization dialogue. Most probably it will be very difficult to return to any serious agreements and concessions, because the window of opportunity is slowly closing. Next year, both the EU and the US will enter the election cycles. Serbia most likely too, given the internal political turbulences that the countries are undergoing. We have seen massive protests in Serbia since early May, following the mass shootings that resulted in 20 mostly kids killed and many other wounded. And this is also a way for President Vučić to distract from internal problems and to present himself as a guardian, as a guarantor of safety of Kosovo Serbs living in the north of Kosovo.
That's an important point that you raise, that the window of opportunity to solve this is closing. Jakub Bielamowicz, thank you so much for speaking to us today on this very sensitive issue. Thank you.